Hi, listener. This is from Ideology to Unity, a spiritual journey where we let go of ego and ideological doctrine in favor of meaning, purpose, and unity as a whole. Today, I'm interviewing Mira from the Zen Time with Goddess of Healing podcast. Mira also has a YouTube channel by the same name and a website, www.miraom. Actually, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Miraom.com. Mira covers topics such as Ayurveda, uh,
Ayurveda.
okay, fair enough, astrology, alternative health, lifestyle therapy to soothe the stress, and other spiritual topics. So, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
So, how did you get into healing?
I got into healing because of my personal curiosity. I come from a family of Western doctors. I have 4 family members who are Western doctors. But when my kids were born, they had low immunity. And I asked my doctor, how can I fix their immunity? And she gave me a pill, but it didn't, I don't know, for some reason I didn't buy it. And internet had just come in and I Googled how to increase immunity. And there is a very well-known sleeping prophet by the name of Edgar Casey. He was an
Ah,
American, and he was a Christian, a devout Christian, and he was an American. He wasn't exposed to other cultures, but when he underwent trance, and you asked any question, he could answer it. And many of his replies were aligned with the thinking of India, the Vedic thinking, which gave the world yoga, Ayurveda, and so many other things. And the core thinking, he aligned with it, and he doesn't even know that. I mean, even now, like before he died, he didn't know it. He was talking about a lot of stuff from India. And he gave a recipe for immunity: celery, carrot, and lettuce. And I thought, that is so silly. How can carrots improve your immunity? Maybe antibiotics can, maybe vaccines can. And even then, I'm very a curious experimental person, and I gave my kids the juice. And it took me 3-4 years to realize that it actually made a difference. Because every time school opens in September, you will notice there is a rise of flu, always has been. And the children always get this cough and cold, and everybody gets it. And I started noticing my kids were getting it less compared to their classmates and cousins. And then I realized, I think Edgar Casey is telling the truth. Then I started reading more about his stuff and started believing his stuff. And it's all mind, body, spiritual therapy. So, and that we are all interlinked, and it's a part of the holistic whole. And all the alternative therapies come to the same conclusion sooner or later. And then I practiced on myself, my friends, my family, and I just realized it works every time. And as I developed more and more skill and I went through courses, I realized I should offer it to the world. So now I'm just like a consultant.
well, that's cool. You discovered something, you learned something, and you want to share it with other people for their benefit.
Yes.
So, what had made so at what point did you decide, okay, I know this stuff, but now is the time for a podcast?
Actually, I have been teaching Reiki for a while and practicing on other people. One friend, her name is Elizabeth Pinard. She kept saying, "You know enough. You know more than enough. You have to start. You have to start." And another friend also, Lisa Rice, and they said, "You should start. You should give." And I said, okay. And I said, I don't know, in 2020 I decided, okay, I'll just take a big step. The big step was renting out a place, meaning I have to start investing in a place. And i had I got a chance to service 1 or 2 people, and I was so happy. It was the best job in my life. It didn't feel like a job, and I
Ah,
just
that's the best
wanted it
kind.
to grow so much more. And then COVID came, and I had to pull out of everything that I had planned, all the group meetings, and reach out and exhibitions. Then I was a bit disappointed. And then I went back to the internet and looked at how people are reaching out. And then I changed track, and then I had to learn marketing and Facebook marketing and Zoom and social media, just making posts yourself and learning how to set up a podcast. First, I didn't even know what a podcast was. Then someone suggested you should speak, you should do YouTube, you should. Then I think at least 6 to 8 months I spent trying to understand the technology behind how to upload a video, how to edit, or how to all this stuff. Then it just all came together in January 2021, and I started to make the baby steps, started to become more successful. And I just realized I have to talk more about it. Everybody knows the mind and body is connected, but nobody knows how. In reality, a practical problem.
Yeah. When it comes to applying these holistic or spiritual, this wisdom, applying it in a practical way, that's the gap.
That's the gap.
Because a lot of people, well, I suppose the mainstream might dismiss it as just mystical bunk, right? And say, okay, you need hard scientific basis, or at least help someone in a way that is tangible. And you're working to do that. So, yeah.
Well, now the science of Ayurveda is also researched in top universities around the world, Harvard and everywhere, and John Hopkins. So it's not that you can prove Ayurveda, you can prove a small aspect of Ayurveda. For example, ashwagandha, the king of herbs, is used for anxiety, and it's been researched. And they have found that it does tangibly make a difference in 60 days to anxiety and better sleep. And even sports people have noticed that they perform better. So you can take a certain small theory, a small aspect out of Ayurveda and test it. And there are a lot of studies. If you just Google it and you how to improve sleep, what does Ayurvedic say, the research studies, you will find studies that support the theory. So
Right.
when you see so many studies, you realize that, okay, it's based on something very solid, So basically there are 5 elements and 3 constitutions which you have to understand. And once you understand that, anybody, just a layman or even a doctor, an Ayurvedic doctor, then you yourself can shift things around at your
Okay.
home. Yeah.
So what are these foundations to Ayurveda?
So the foundation of Ayurveda is that everything, we're all one, and we are made of 5 elements. And those 5 elements are space, air, fire, water, and earth, which we completely understand. We have to treat our body like a gardener would treat a garden. So a plant that needs a lot of fire would need 6 to 8 hours of sun, which is fire, right? Now, which plants need more fire, which have to produce bigger fruits? In our body, our fire is in our stomach, the digestive system. So anybody who is low in fire in the body will have a sluggish digestive system, and they will also have low energy and depression, because depression is a reflection of low fire in the body.
What would cause low fire in the body?
A lot of things, like not eating the right foods. One of the biggest causes of destroying your digestive system is drinking ice drinks with your food. It's like your stomach is a stove, and you put iced water. It's like a barbecue. You've set up the coals, and you chug a glass of iced water. What's going to happen to the coals? So in Eastern culture,
Right.
nobody drinks iced water with their food. If you notice that the Japanese and Chinese, they have this little small green tea. It's warm and it's very little, so that the digestive fire is not extinguished while eating.
Right. That's interesting. What happens if someone isn't living in a way that fires them up? Would that make them maybe lacking in fire?
Yes. Absolutely. That's why the lifestyle therapy means that your lifestyle can make you sick or your lifestyle can make you well. So if you're always eating ice cream and iced water, then your fire is eventually going to go very dull, and you're going
Right.
to have,
What about just if you're not doing what you're passionate about? If you're doing a job that you don't like?
of course. So the thing is that in a perfect world, we do what we like. We are not having circumstances where you're compelled to survive, right?
Hmm.
But what I have, this is now we're going to spiritual part, is when you realize you have this inner awareness that you're not happy, and you work with the divine, then first of all, you're not aware that you have choices. First of all, you're not
Right.
aware that you are in this job just because you want to survive, and you are just like afraid. Fear is coming in. So first you have to acknowledge the fear, then you have to realize that you're open to choices, and then you have to realize that the divine works with you. So you start aligning with yourself, and then you ask the divine to help you to get out of these circumstances. And you have to be patient, and you have to be trustful to of the divine to listen to you. So you work together as a partner to get yourself out of a circumstances which you in heart and mind don't like.
Right. And if we're all one, um, with everything, what's the relation between the divine and us?
Nothing. We're all the same. We're made of the five elements. The sun is the fire element, the moon is the water element. You know, water in the river. The water inside us is the blood, the lymph. This is all water. And there's also water inside the plant, the sap, which we eat and becomes again the juices of our blood, which circulates inside. So we're all the same. So
So
if you're if you're honoring the water element, which native cultures used to do, where they see the spirit in everything, they're just having a deeper spiritual connection. That's all. We are disconnected, they are more connected. So like the water you drink, you just drink it by the way that you're thirsty, okay? But when the person who's connected spiritually, they're aware of the water and they're almost irrespectful of the water.
that's a good point. We can take things for granted, but when we're grateful for even the simple things, then that's, I'm not sure how to describe it, but that livens our life, right?
It's not just being grateful. Grateful means you're doing a active act. It's just being aware, just being alive, that the river is flowing. It's Mother Goddess, and the same river is flowing through you. When your river is sluggish, that's when your lymph gets blocked and your blood gets slower, and your extremities get cold because there's not enough circulation, so it's not reaching. And when you dam up a river, the land starves of water, right? The vegetation around it. It's the same way inside our body. Our body also has a river flowing. So if you block it because you're not doing enough activity, or because you're too sad, or because you're eating too heavy foods, you block the flow of river inside you. It's the same
Why
way.
is everything a river?
It is the water element. That's how the water flows.
Right.
We are
Is this
composed
linked
of
to the
the,
way in like Taoism, say?
in what?
Have you heard of the idea of the way in Taoism? It's kind of like a
Taoism
river.
from the Chinese?
Yeah.
Yeah, Eastern thinkings kind of are more similar to each other. The thinking in China, Japan, Korea, India is a similar kind of thinking. Maybe some things change here and there, but it's a very similar kind of thinking. They also have the five elements. The Chinese medicine has the five elements, and it's the same. They have the same idea. They may just put it in different words, but it's the similar belief of the flow of the cycle of life.
Okay, so people can maybe relate to fire, water, air, earth, but how do you explain the space element?
So to fill anything, you need first a boundary. So you have the universe, you have the solar system, you have the body. Then inside you have so many containers. You have the heart container. What is that? It is a space allocation. Space, then you have to fill it with elements. Like the heart has to be, it's a muscle, so that the actual material is the earth element. The blood which is flowing inside it is the water element. And blood is hot, it has heat. That's the fire element. And the flow, the movement is the air element. So if any of these elements don't exist inside the heart will stop.
So when it comes to health, balance is key.
Balance is key. So you can have a destructive element circle, then you're in imbalance. Or you can have a constructive. And that applies to everything, to society, to a jungle, to a garden, to your body, to the universe.
So it's often said that letting go and relaxing is very beneficial for your health and how you feel, psychology, spirituality, right? And you said that balance is very important for health. So fundamentally, focusing on balance between different elements, would you say that's how we get to heal and remain healthy?
Yeah, because there is a very a limited zone for balance. When you're inside that zone, everything is healthy and happy. So a child is born in balance, a forest is in balance, a garden can be in balance or imbalance. Now you see this agriculture, it's mono agriculture, so it's not in balance. You can see it in your eyes also. When you go to a forest, there's diversity, but when you go to a farm, there's only one kind of animal or one kind of crop.
So, Mira, I'm wondering about the five elements. What's the relationship between each of the elements?
Each one supports or destroys the other. For example, after you build a fire, there is ash left, which is earth. So fire produces earth, right? But water extinguishes fire. So this is the way the cycle just automatically balances itself, right? So when even you see it in the weather patterns, when it's very hot, the clouds will float and the rain will come down, the heat will go down, right?
Right.
So all the weather systems or everything in the body and everything just, when a system is in balance, the five elements are in enough quantity to support each other. But when the system is in imbalance, there is always one element or two elements which is too excessive. For example, when it is too hot and the forest fire starts, that means the heat has become excessive and the forest fires start. Or when you have a tsunami, then the water element is excessive, or when you have flooding. So in the body, when you have flooding, when the water element is excessive, you can have cough, flu, grief, depression. This is all manifestation of excessive water element in the body. If you have excessive fire element, you will have anger, acid reflux, inflammation, fever. So then you have to have cooling stuff. So when it's a hot day, you will wear a cap or an umbrella. We know this. Nobody needs to teach us this. But when we are having fever, we are having too much excessive heat inside us, we still do the wrong thing. We'll just have more spicy food. Being a workaholic is a fire element. So they will, instead of resting, they will work more. So the fire increases in your body instead of decreasing. All the native cultures and people, they were in tune with nature and they knew automatically how to bring about balance. But in our modern society, we've become very cognitive and very cerebral. So we overthink everything.
Yeah, so I guess it comes down to paying attention and having
Yeah.
self-awareness, but perhaps becoming too focused on, let's say, the left brain or just thoughts and everything will kind of might negate our ability to self-reflect. Would you agree?
The problem is nowadays we don't believe in self-observation. We're just arguing, talking about fact, which is okay. The scientists need to study and verify fact in a scientific environment. But the best for each person is to really study their body. If you just notice what you ate and what set it off. If you just journaled every day, okay, this happened in the office and this was my body reaction, you will develop such a deep awareness that you will know that when you eat something, you're feeling ill just because of that body. If you paid attention to what you're eating, you will realize how you're feeling immediately after you eat, which gives you clues immediately how the meal was for you. If it was acid reflux, that means the meal was too spicy. If it is bloating, that means the meal was too dry. If it feels so heavy, it means it was very too much dense what you ate. And then also look at your poop. So if it's a very dry poop, that is just indicating what you are inside. Or if it's too heavy or sluggish or mucousy. In old times, before all these blood work and everything started, the doctors would actually go and look at what came out of your body and look at the poop and to see how your body is doing. And we all can do that. We should just notice how you're feeling after eating. Look at our poop, look at our pee, look how much we're sweating, look at how we're sleeping. These are the signs of all indications of how your body is. If you're not sleeping well, you're in imbalance. Immediately your body tells you.
Well, I think that makes sense to me. So what do we do about, say, anxiety? How would you suggest dealing with that?
So as I said, that once you have the basic core knowledge of the principles of Ayurveda, everybody can be a bit of a mini doctor at their own home. So if you are aware of the 5 elements and how they interact with each other, and they compose the 3 constitutions, like air and space, they form the Vata kind of a constitution where the person is very they have a lot of movement inside their body, but they don't have a lot of matter. They're kind of thin, they're just fidgeting, they sleep, they're light sleepers, they're just born that way. And if they live that life also, it becomes aggravated. So what those people have to do is they have to learn to be still. They have to sleep early. They should never stay up. They have to eat warm grounding food. You can't have popcorn. I mean, you can have it occasionally, but if that's your main diet, then you will become more agitated and even more light. You're like a bird, flitting around everywhere with very little weight.
So can you observe what your personality or temperament is, or someone else's is, and then discern which diet, which foods might imbalance them based on that?
Of course, it's very simple. There are so many online tests. You just go and do it's called dosha or constitution. And there are 2 types, one that you were born with and the current one, which may or may not be out in balance. So ideally, you should always be in balance. But of course, life is there. We do get stressed, we get old, we get ill, we do things we're not supposed to. So if the gap is big, you will experience it more in your body. Then through lifestyle, you close the gap as much as you can. Through eating, through the way you bathe, the way you eat, the way you sleep, the activities you do, all of them will affect your how well you deal with anxiety. It's not just the diet. That's just one pillar. There are 3 pillars in Ayurveda: sleep, diet, and it's called abstination, like control, not just doing anything you like. That's the 3rd pillar.
So discipline or restraint.
Yeah. For example, there's a saying in Ayurveda that you should, if you divide your stomach into 4 parts, You should eat food for 2 parts, have liquid for 1 part, and space for the third, fourth part. Then there will be good digestion. So don't overeat or undereat.
I see. Yes, and fundamentally, it comes to understanding the elements and applying it in every aspect of your life. What about sleep then? How do we have a balanced sleep?
Well, as I said, we are part of nature. So we should move with the seasons and the sun and moon. When it's daytime, between sunrise and sunset, you're supposed to be doing all the fire activities, which is working, digesting, walking, jogging, doing your job, learning. But after sunset, between sunset and sunrise, you should be resting and rejuvenating. You should be letting go. You should stop doing your work. You should relax. You should enjoy your family. You should meditate. You should breathe slower. You should get ready for sleeping. And you should sleep between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. is the best time to sleep, because the sleep has different cycles. So between the 2 hours before midnight is the best time when the brain is nourished. That's the maximum nourishment time. So if you skip that time, then you're always playing catch up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's just like the animals. They sleep in the night and they get up in the morning. We should behave like them.
So the way we often eat in the West, where a lot of people might have dinner at like 7 p.m. or something, you would say that's not healthy.
I would think that's okay. 6, 7 p.m. is fine. It should be at least 2-3 hours before you sleep. If you're sleeping at 9, let's say you sleep at 10. So 7 is okay. It gives you 2 hours to digest, to relax, to wind. Then between 7 to 9, your food has gone out of your stomach and now it's lighter, and you can do some more relaxing activities like reading a inspirational book or breathing exercises, yoga, meditation, and then go to sleep. If you did this very, very, very regularly, I don't think anxiety can come so easily to you.
Okay, so one thing that you do is or you recommend is affirmations. How do you explain that?
See, in the West, everything has been broken up. Oh, this is the one fit pill for everything. You do affirmations, your whole life will be reformed. You just drink ashwagandha, your whole life will be rescued. You just put CBT oil, your whole life will be rescued. No one thing can rescue it. Either you live holistically or you live unholistically. Like, for example, a cow. If it is living in a natural farm where it roams around and it has grass, nature intrinsically is in imbalance. You have to go out of your way to imbalance it. For example, now you put so many cows in a row and you put machines and clothes. It's not natural. Everybody knows it's not natural. You will not find that arrangement anywhere in our nature. And you immediately will sense the imbalance as soon as you walk in that kind of an environment.
Energetic.
So as soon as you leave the elements free, they try to come back into balance. Whether it's nature or your body, that's why healing takes place, because nature is always trying to go back to balance. It depends on how much we are blocking it by our lifestyle, by our thinking, by the choices we are making, by what we are set up in society. How many blockages we've put up will make it that much more difficult for nature to come back into balance.
Okay. Yeah. So what about astrology? Because obviously you said there are cycles of different elements involved in everything. So yeah, what about astrology?
Yeah, because the astrology also came from the same Vedas in India. So everything in India has the 5 concepts, the 5 elements, even in astrology. Astrology is only a more spiritual psychology of mankind, that's all. The Western psychologist just stops here, but if I had to choose another name for Indian Vedic astrology, it would be called spiritual psychology. So again, the mind is made up of different layers. So we have the lower layer, which is more earth element, where you have the ego. So you'll know that people who are very egoistically, they're very less flexible. Earth element is not so flexible. Then you have the feelings, which is the water element. So the feelings, they go here and there, they're nourishing. So love is nourishing. So when you help support someone, it's nourishing. But when you over smother somebody, it suffocates them. Then you have the air element, which is discriminatory. So you can make right or wrong choices. And so in astrology, we have those elements in the chart.
So you mentioned your star sign, right?
Yeah, so what I'm saying is that I have the water element as the main thing within me, as the starting point. So I'm attracted to counseling, nurturing kind of jobs. So you'll notice this kind of personality in people. So fire people are more outgoing. They like adventure. They like jobs like policing, or so being in the military or leading. People with water in them will have more mother or nourishing kind of personality. They might not be in that job. It's just their nature.
So it depends what month you're born in, sort of.
No, it's more complicated, Indian astrology. So the month you're born in represents where your sun is. And the day you're born on represents where the moon is. And the hour you're born in represents your physical self. So a person who is an earth sign will be more into trade and banking, and they're accumulating kind of people.
Right.
And the air signs are very creative, so therefore, so all the elements are spread right through everything in all the philosophies that have come out from India. It's just throughout all the old understanding, it's just always present in everything.
I think I might want to research Vedic or Indian astrology, because it sounds a little bit like Chinese and a bit like Western, but also just a bit unique as well. And I don't know, it just sounds really interesting.
Yeah, because China and India were next to each other, so they have been influencing each other in their thoughts, and they're much closer in their thinking. But the Western astrology really did develop more through adopting ideas of the East, But as always, I have found that Western stuff becomes very narrow in focus and on a one thing, whereas the Eastern system doesn't depend on one stop solution. It's more a system that you have to adopt or maintain. So basically what I'm saying is that, so there is no one-stop solution to anything. You just have to maintain the system in balance, or allow nature to keep it in balance. If you notice that there are symptoms of imbalance, then you should just start correcting it, whether it's your life or the house or the community you're living in, the forest nearby you. If things are dying, if it's becoming too hot, like a planet is becoming too hot, that means the air element is really growing. Then where is all the cooling water going to come from?
So are you saying that fundamentally we know, even if we're not fully consciously aware of it, on some level we know, and if we listen to ourselves, how we feel, what a body and everything, that we can basically allow an automatic elemental healing and rebalancing process?
Yes.
And that applies to everything.
Yes, it applies to everything. So the number one skill would be, okay, to have some of the Ayurvedic concepts would help you. just to sort it out. And the number one thing you would need is deep, deep awareness. Always being aware. What
How
are
do
you
we
eating?
gain deeper awareness?
Just by noticing. Just notice when you're working, what are you feeling? Like, for example, nowadays we eat in front of the TV and we're distracted. But in ancient India, you're not supposed to talk at all, even with each other. You're supposed to eat in total silence. I think one of the reasons for that was so you're aware what you're eating. Are you eating fast or slow? How is it going down your digestive system? Is your stomach feeling okay? How do you feel afterwards? Maybe if you only eat in total silence with deep awareness of the food on your plate, then only you can realize how you're feeling after each meal. And that was a practice. Everybody ate like that.
Huh. And there's means of communication as well that aren't verbal anyway. So
I'm sorry, I didn't get you.
there's also means of communication that aren't verbal. So there's that too. That we're always constantly kind of distracting ourselves and trying to be jacked up in some sort of stimulation, right? Or at least recently in the West, it's been like that.
I think the West is too cognitive and overthinking and less into, it's a very fire type of society, outward expansion, growth, science, technology. And intrinsically, Indian in the old times was very introspective, inward, meditative, slower. Not today in the 21st century, in the old times. So we have lost the skills of being quiet, introspective, aware. Even meditating is such a difficult task. For 5 minutes, nobody can sit still. And with the smartphone, it's almost impossible. I don't think you can listen or read a page without getting bored or distracted. So that's a sign of too much movement.
Okay, so what advice do you have for people who are interested in meditation?
For meditation, I wouldn't give any advice for meditation. I would say just go back to the old style of living, lifestyle therapy. You may not be able to mimic what your ancestors did, but do whatever you can. It's not just meditation. You have to sleep when the moon comes up. You have to wake up when the sun comes up and start working. You have to become physically active. You have to eat when you're hungry and not eat when you're bored. You should not only eat just to pleasure your tongue, you should eat to nourish your body. You should listen to your feelings. If you're feeling unhappy with a certain person or situations, that is the way your body tells you that something is not okay. Positive affirmations will do nothing if you're constantly putting yourself in the same situation repetitively. The body talks to you through feelings and symptoms. If you've eaten something wrong, it will immediately do acid reflux or bloating or something. That's the body is telling you, I'm not okay. If you go somewhere and you feel sad or you feel angry, that means there's something in the environment that has triggered that, and you have to listen to what's happening outside and inside. The more you're aware, the calmer you become, and the righter you become. Righter means writer for yourself. You become attuned to your thinking, your body. You have you develop a relationship with yourself. When you listen to yourself, you know what you are saying to yourself. You become your own therapist.
And how would you summarize everything? Would it just be what you just said or something else?
The easiest way in today's date is to do emotional de-stress lifestyle therapy, which I give consultations for. We start with where are you stressed? Automatically, we have to go everything through the body, through what you're eating, how you're sleeping. But the thing is, when you are having an agitated emotion, which is anger, irritability, stress, burnout, anxiety, depression, they're all symptoms of not feeling well from inside. When you don't have that, you feel natural, happy, contented, peaceful. That's the natural state. So then we work backwards. Like, okay, Since how long have you been feeling this? What are you doing in your life right now? When was it when you didn't feel like this? Then you start going through one by through their whole current lifestyle and past style or whatever. And the deeper, and it's a non-ending. You can start the observation, you can start listening, then you go deeper and deeper. If you start first, you'll be aware of how your stomach feels, then you'll start being aware of your feelings, then you'll start becoming aware of your subconscious mind, then you'll start becoming aware of the divine, and you will start noticing nature. You know, in the old times, the natives just could listen, look at the insects and the leaves and know that this is going to happen, you know, that it's going to storm. You don't need to look at your smartphone to know it's going to rain. Or, I mean, now we need to in the 21st century. But had we been living, say, in the 2nd or 3rd century after Jesus Christ, we would have to look at the size of the moon or the stars or the number of how wet the grass is to know if things are ready. Should we start planting or should we wait, or things like that. Important decisions that people had to make to build their houses or prepare the garden or everything, if they want to travel, which is the right time to travel. So we have lost the art of listening to ourselves. We're so cerebral. Oh, this one cabbage diet. Oh, this one keto diet. Oh, this. No, there is no one stop, one size fits all. There is not. There is one size fit all of nature only. You can only fit into nature or you can unfit into nature. Nature is the one size fit all.
And even then, it's holistic. And so the moment you're going one size fit all, you're going away from nature. And you'll be able to feel the difference immediately, right?
You will, your body will show it up, yeah. Your mind, your body, your everything, even your breath. When you're angry, your breath will change. That's why there is so much emphasis in the Eastern sciences for the breath, to notice the breath, because the breath is the only visible, tangible tool to reach your mind. You can't put your hand inside and fix the anxiety, but you can notice your breath and you can use the breath as a tool to reach your mind. And even if you don't know any techniques of breathing, if you simply notice your breath, you will know half your story of what's going on inside you. Just notice relentlessly.
Wow. It's really simple when you put it like that. So
it is simple. We have
thank you for
life.
explaining it in such a grounded way, I suppose. And we could go on longer, but like I really feel like we've hammered out the core of what it's about.
Yeah.
And so I feel like we could round it up. And if there's anything you'd like to add just to finish off, I'd like to hear it.
Well, in the modern times when we're in a rush, all I will say is that attune to nature. Nature is your mother guru. There is no one greater, no scientist, nothing, no theory greater than nature. And nature has designed us so that we can know everything just by listening. Don't talk, listen. Just listen to yourself, listen to nature, just observe. And don't do anything because someone told you. Try it, experiment with it, and then make your beliefs. Don't keep running after theories. Run after your own observation and body. Listen to your body. That's it. Listen to your mind. Listen to your heart. That's it. Listen to nature.
Well, thank you a lot. It was I suppose you could say enlightening, but in a sort of in a simple way that's practical. So thank you, and perhaps I could have you on again.
Okay, sure. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Oh, cool. And I hope you enjoyed it too, listener. So without further ado, bye for now.